Good afternoon, class. We're going to start the science lesson now. So if you could please take out 3 different colored highlighters, a pencil, and I will be coming around and handing out the reading passages you will need for our lesson today because we're going to do annotating again. So today we are going to learn about food chains. So we're going to keep building on to our knowledge. Okay, we started with what is an ecosystem. Okay, and then what else did we learn? Right, we learned about producers, decomposers, and consumers. Okay, so those are organisms within an ecosystem. So now, today, we're going to learn how all those organisms tie together to create a food chain in their ecosystem and why it's important to understand the food chain. So it's important to understand this topic because we habitate this earth with all these other organisms, right? It's not just us on this earth. There's all sorts of organisms. So we need to understand how they work. And then later, we're going to also understand how we might affect these organisms through our actions. So it's important to know about the different components of an ecosystem and the food chain in order to understand ourselves as human beings, because we are organisms in an ecosystem, as well as how we might affect other organisms in our own ecosystem through our actions, okay? So we're just going to review a little bit about what we've learned so far, because like I said, we're building up our knowledge. Okay, so what was the first thing we learned? Right, we learned that an ecosystem is an environment of organisms that what's important about these organisms? Right, they all depend on each other to survive. Okay, so what are some of these organisms? What would they classify under? Right, so we have consumers, producers, and decomposers. What's a consumer? Right, it's an organism that consumes something else to get its energy. So what are some examples maybe of a consumer? Right, a deer is a consumer. We are consumers, right? A bird is a consumer. Okay, what's a decomposer? Right, it breaks down dead materials and dead things in order to get its energy. So what's an example of a decomposer? Right, so like a vulture eats dead things in order to get its energy, and lots of bacteria. Right, what is a producer? Correct, something that produces its own energy and its own food. So an easy way for that is plants, right? Plants are producers. They're able to take sunlight and create their own energy, create their own food. So it's important to understand those 3 concepts or terms in order to understand the food chain. Okay, so that's what we're going to be learning today. Do we have any questions? Alrighty, we're going to take a look at those packets and get started.